Okay, so now we can start setting up the FTP server for the WordPress. Um, if you have a look here, and it's on this tab, sorry. I was also ordering my dinner while I was away. Okay, I managed to get this working, but there was a problem with permissions, and I went through and I checked there was something wrong with the AMI. So I've scrapped that AMI and I've just quickly spun up a new version. Let's just go to home. I'm probably going to have to authenticate on this version, so okay. Let's go to updates. Update now. And it's going to ask me for the FTP details, okay, which is what we need for WordPress to update. And a lot of people don't know how to set this up on AWS or IIS, so this is why we're going to set this up together now. Now, there has been a lot of stuff said in the AWS forum about the only way you can achieve this with Windows is by turning off Windows Firewall. Well, that's absolute shit. You cannot turn off Windows Firewall and compromise security for convenience. It's just not acceptable. So we're going to go ahead and show you how to do it without turning off Windows Firewall. Okay, so let's just go and turn this off. And I'm just giving you a warning here. Okay, so let me just check what is this warning all about. Okay, no, that's just slow start in services. Okay, so let's go into IIS. And if you would recall, in the very first video tutorial we did in the series, we set up the passive range of 9001 to 9005, which is what we're going to need to configure now, along with the public IP address or the elastic IP address of our AWS instance. So if you are using a firewall and you're not using AWS, what you would need to do is figure out the external IP address of your firewall or router, and make sure that the ports, that the ports are open all the way through from where your server is to that actual external IP of your firewall. But for AWS, it's a lot simpler. We've already configured the firewall, the access list on the security group, and now all we need to do is actually go in here and go into FTP firewall and configure the settings that we've set up. So the port range was 9001 to 9005. And I've deliberately chosen a small port range because, as far as I'm aware, the only thing that I'm going to be using this for is to do updates from WordPress. If I'm going to have a bunch of other users on this using the same server and using the FTP, I'm going to make that a higher range. But for security purposes, let's keep this small for now. Okay, so I'm just wanted to check out the public IP address. If you don't know your public IP address, you can just go to whatismyip.com. But in AWS, it is listed over here on your desktop. So I'm just going to go type that in, and I'm going to type it in over here in IIS where it says the external IP address of firewall, which is now 52.9.25.70. Okay, so that should be all good, and I'm just going to apply this. Okay, and we need to make sure that we configure the firewall. We'll do Windows Firewall now in a second as well. So don't worry, we're not going to skip that. Okay, so this is the important part, is the Windows firewall part. But before I do that, I just want to check that the site has the settings that we need. No. I'll come back to adding in the FTP publishing in a second. Let's just go and set up Windows firewall so that we know it's going to be working. There it is. Okay, I'm just going to open up. Let's go back and I'll show you what I did there. We went to inbound rules in the Windows firewall. We're going to new rule, and we're going to go to port, and we're just going to go 9001 9005. So that's the range that we're busy putting in, separated with a hyphen. And we want to allow the connection. And we want to make it through all of these. And we're just going to call it Passive FTP range. And finish. Okay, so that should be Windows Firewall configured. Let's go back into the IIS. And we're going to go, and before we actually go into IIS here, let me just go in here and set up this computer management. We're just going to go into computer management again. That's in server manager. That's how I got there. So it's server manager and then computer management. And I just want to set up a user for using the FTP. So let's just go right click new user here. I've already got a username specified which I want to use, and I've stored it in my key pass already. This is the second attempt to make this tutorial, so this part of the tutorial I should say. And the last time, the reason why I had to do this is because of this permissions error, which I'm hoping isn't going to pop up now. Just give it a description and just say user cannot change password, password never expires. And always make sure that you're using a very strong password. Now, this AMI, the base AMI that we used from Amazon enforces strong passwords. So there we go. That actually created. This is where it crashed the last time. So that's good. It was a problem with the AMI image that I had just spun up, and thankfully my original image that I had backed up didn't have this problem. So yeah, that's why I keep saying back up your images as much as possible, and after each major change make a backup so you can roll back whenever you want. Okay, so now we've got that user back working, well, configured. We're going to go and just put him into a group, which is the IIS iUsers group. Or WP FTP is the user that I set up. And I'm just going to apply that. Okay, so now we have a user that's ready for configuring into the FTP publishing for the default website. So make sure we're on the default website level now. And we're just going to go to add FTP publishing, which is in the right hand side bar here. Okay, so for now, as I said, we're not going to be doing SSL just yet. So we're just doing standard FTP, and we will be doing another tutorial on showing you how to put on SSL encryption and use FTPS. But for now, we're just going to do it like this. We're going to set it to all unassigned IP addresses, and we're just going to set to start FTP site automatically. So we're going to go next, and we're going to set it up with basic authentication. We do not want to use anonymous. And we're going to use specified users, and that user that I created earlier, WPFTP, and we're going to give it read and write permissions, and that's it. We just click on finish. So, and now what we need to do before we test this, let's go ahead and just check the firewall to make sure that the FTP firewall is correct. Yes, it is. Okay. Looks like we're good to go. So let's just give this a test. Now I've got this all already typed in over here in my from the last attempt, so I'm just going to go. I'll just put in the IP address, the username, and the password that I chose. Let's go quick connect. Okay, it looks like we need to go and restart some services, so give me a second here. So let's go back into IIS. Well, I closed off the IIS, so let me just open that up again. And we're just going to restart the web server. So we just select the server, restart it. And we go to services. And we go down this list. And we find the Microsoft FTP service, and we restart that as well. Okay. Now let's give that another test. There we go. It's directory listing successful. Okay, so now we just need to go and see if we're able to both read and write. So let's just try and create a directory here. Can we write? Because that was one of the things that okay, we cannot write to the directory. Okay, so let me go and have a look and see what is causing that problem. So we're going into the D drive, that's where my inet pub folder is. You might have it in the C drive, but we moved this in an earlier tutorial to the D. And I'm just going to go and right click on the www root, and I'm just going to go into properties here, go into security, Now we don't want this to actually be set to right for this group, so let's go and set up a new group, sorry, new permissions for the user, the individual user, which was WP FTP. We're going to highlight him, and we're actually just going to give him full control, and OK that, and OK that, and I'm going to abort this connection and retest it. OK, so now I go to create directory and go test. There we go, it's created the test directory. Okay, perfect. So we can read and write to that. That's what WordPress is going to need. So we're just going to go and delete this. Okay, so now we're just going to go back to our browser here, where we had that update, and so if we just go home here, and I'll just show you how we got there again. It says update is available, and then you go update to 4.1.1, and we go update now, and it's going to ask us for that that information that we have, and the IP address is what we should be putting in here, which is 52.9.25.70, or whatever your external IP address or elastic IP address is. And then the FTP user, actually I don't need that, I need key pass. Just going to copy out the user that I set up there, and then the password that we set for the user in Windows earlier. Okay, and we're just going to proceed, and we'll see what WordPress says in a few seconds. Hopefully it's able to do the update. I'm actually very new to WordPress, so actually this is the first time I'm attempting to do this, because there has been a lot that I've discussed when I went and I first deployed WordPress. I couldn't get a lot of things working out the box. Now that said, it was successful, and one of the well, let's talk about what I couldn't get working out the box, which was the FTP. That wasn't working. The updates weren't working because the FTP wasn't working, and also the SMTP. So this is why I'm doing this video tutorial, is because I couldn't find any information about how to get this working on IIS, and I also couldn't find any information about how I could get the FTP, passive FTP working with AWS. So I'm killing two birds with one stone here and showing you both. So here we go. After figuring all this out by myself, I thought I'd better show you guys. So this is all up and running. WordPress is now 4.4.1, and so now we have let's see what plugins we've got here. So we've pretty much got an empty install of WordPress here. Sorry, we don't want to go into tools, we want to go into settings here. Okay. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to go and show you how we can set up a security plugin. So far, I've been checking out, and the one that seems to be working quite nicely is WordFence. And then I found a second one that seems to complement it quite well. And the only reason I don't use the second one for everything is because it seems to be very Linux specific. And on a Windows server, I wouldn't want to trust that. And the WordFence seems to have a lot of good reviews for both Windows and Linux. So I've decided to go with WordFence for this for now. If I do find a better plugin that provides better security, I will let you know. The interesting thing about the WordFence plugin is that it also does a managed service, so like SaaS, service as a service, well, software as a service, I should say. And basically, they go and do the looking after your malware, the scanning, and everything. It's an extra additional price. I can't remember the cost now, but for what when it just out the box, the WordFence is pretty much brilliant. Um, Talking about virus scanning, you should also at this point, if you haven't got one already, you should get a managed virus scanner service like Trend is pretty good. If you go and you Google Trend, find Trend, it's pretty affordable as well. That's the one that I would recommend. There are other software services platforms out there that does virus scannings, but Trend seems to be my favorite at the moment. Um, so let's just carry on with the next tutorial in a few minutes, where I'll show you how to set up a WordPress security plugin.